The only hustle he knows is stealing. That is the story of this young teenage boy, Wahid, also known as Aburo. Have you seen Aburo? Yeah, it was released last year in the cinemas, and right now it's out on a streaming platform called Cover. If you watched Gangs of Lagos, then you probably want to, see the same guy again. I could say he was one of the lead actor, more like a teenage actor. He was a teenage actor in Gangs of Lagos and he killed his role. Yeah, that same guy is back again. And he did exceptionally well. Let me give you a quick story. So here comes a 13 or a 14-year-old teen boy who all he knew all his life was to hustle. He had seen how his auntie had struggled because he had lost his parents and he had to live with his mom's younger sister who also had two kids. He and his sister had to live with their auntie, making four kids. Their auntie, she didn't really have much, and she didn't have any tangible job or anything tangible she was doing. Meanwhile, they lived in the ghetto because that was what she could afford, but she was trying. And that auntie is Wumi Toriola, playing the role of Auntie Kafi. Auntie Kafi strict, but disciplined. Strict, disciplined, but she loves them to the moon and back. So yeah, here comes the gist. We see a man come into the picture who went into the ghetto, well, because he was trying to get somewhere and his driver had said the ghetto route was a faster route to get to their destination. While they were at that, some kids were fighting on the road. Oh, I forgot to mention the man's name is Mr. Tuchel, Mide Tuchel, played by Iwara. And while they were at it, some kids were fighting on the road, blocking the ghetto street. And he thought, oh, I just got back kind of guy. Let me go speak English to them and separate them. The driver kept explaining to him that, Oga, this is tactics. I understand these Niger ghetto children. This is just tactics and they just want to pickpocket or find a way to steal from you and, elope. It's just all acts. But he wasn't having any of it. He decided to go speak with them. While he was trying to, speak with them and separate them from fighting, here comes Aburo. Well, had put his finger, had picked his wallet from his pocket. Let me just say that. He had picked his wallet from his pocket without Mr. Tuchel even finding out. And by the time he was done trying to settle the children who were fighting, he decided, oh, let him give them money so they could all go their separate ways. And lo and behold, his wallet was missing. Who could have stolen his wallet? Then he cited Aburo and he said, and here he goes, oh, hand me over my wallet. And the boy is like, if you can come for it, if you think you can get it, no wala. You can come get it. Well, this young boy was trying to put a man to a race. And Mr. Mide felt, oh, you think you can outrun me? Never. And he went after Aburo. Unknown to him that a ghetto kiddie could also be a very fast-paced child. The more Mr. Mide Tuchel tried to catch up with Aburo, the more he realized that, well, this is not just a ghetto child, but somebody who could beat him at his own skill. So what did you think Mr. Mide did for a living? Well, he used to be a sprinter, but not anymore because he had health crisis. So his ankles began to fail him at some point in time, and he sustained injuries, and it was advised that he retires from sprinting, from running. However, before he did, he had gotten quite a number of medals in the US. He was recognized. He had lived almost all his life in the US, and he was back to Nigeria, well, to come get closure from his late aunt, who he wasn't there when she passed or when she was buried. He couldn't get his wallet from Aburo that particular day, well, because the crisis started again and he ended up in the hospital where he met Dr. Edak, played by Toni. And they got into some kind of conversation. He realized that Dr. Edak was into some medical outreach for certain rural communities, and he decided to put in his own donation and also decided to be a volunteer. Well, he showed up being a volunteer, and while he was at that, Aburo's younger sister, who happens to be Rofia, played by Darasimi Nadi, sorry, happens to be ill, and it was quite serious. So Auntie Wumi is not her name in this movie. Auntie Kafi rushed her over to the medical health center, and while they were trying to attend to her, here comes Aburo trying to spy on his sister and to just check that she was okay. Oh, what a big elder brother he was. What a kind elder brother, rather. And Mide sights him again and tries to run after him. But bear in mind, Mide has sustained some injuries and he couldn't run as fast. His ankles were failing him, so he couldn't catch up with Aburo. Aburo was obviously faster. The doctor realized what had happened and told Mide that that was not the right time or right place to begin to chase someone who had stolen his wallet, bearing in mind that he had taken his ID and all of that. Well, after that, we also see Aburo trying to play the role of a big brother when he assumed somebody had beat up his sister in school and he gave the boy called Breeze the beating of his life, or called Odua. Breeze was more of a nickname. Odua happens to be the fastest runner in Rofia's school, and he had also been put in for the competition, the interstate competition, running competition, and his father had felt that it was going to be their ticket out of poverty, out of the ghetto, and all of that. While they were at that, the father kept on speaking to him, instilling into him that, guy, you have to get your acts together and win this thing, or else don't come back to this house. Well, for a secondary school child, that felt so harsh. But yeah, back to the story. Aburo made sure that he dealt with Odua, who he had presumed beat up his sister, or tried to bully his sister, and he gave him the beating of his life. And the father, Odua's father, mocked him when he got home. After that, we also see the doctor and Mr. Tuchel having certain conversation, and Mr. Tuchel realized that if Aburo could outrun him, then maybe he was better off outside of the ghetto and he could be more for himself. He could make a career, a meaningful living based off running. So he spoke to Dr. Edak, who, after much conviction, decided to give in and helped Mr. Tuchel speak to Aburo. Aburo was convinced to, start training on how to run a race and how to win and all of that, and all the perks that came with it, like going to the US, and the fact that if he went to the US, if he got recognized by certain running or sprinting bodies, then he had the opportunity to give his sister a better life. She could also go school in the US. His sister, Rofia, was so happy with this news, and she encouraged her brother to jump on it. A quick backstory: all along, Aburo's, or Maleek, his name is Maleek. I honestly do not know why they called him Aburo, but I guess the gang he was working with, maybe it seems to be the youngest among them, and they just felt that was the perfect name for him, Aburo. So, a quick backstory: he didn't just wake up and decide that the only way to hustle was to steal. It was because he got into the wrong hands. His auntie was struggling, and the only place he thought that he could get a few naira to sustain himself and the family was getting into the wrong gang. He got into gang, and that was how Pompey taught him that the only way to make it out or make it big was to pickpocket, to steal, and all of that. And it was there that he got into the gang and he dropped out of school and all of that. Yeah. So back to the story. The sister fell ill again and her health was deteriorating. Aburo had gone to reach out to Pompey. He tried everything he could as a big brother. His auntie too, Auntie Kafi, did everything she could, but Pompey did not help. Pompey rather he preferred to spend his money on prostitutes, side chicks, and all of that, and to give Aburo's sister, spend money on our medical bills or yeah. So eventually, Rufia passed, and that broke Aburo. That was all he had left in the world. He broke him. He got so angry. He was pained. He was sad. He was uh, bereaved. Everything you can think of for a 14-year-old who had lost everybody, and including his sister that meant everything to him. He felt like there was nothing else he was living for. And while Mr. Tuchel felt, oh, he could still push and still be great, and his late sister Rofia would be proud of him. Aburo felt there was nothing else to keep pushing for. He was done. But thankfully, Tuchel was able to speak senses into him, to get under his nerves, and Aburo gave it a rethink, and he decided to go back to sprinting training. And on the day of the competition, he on the day of the competition before the day of the competition, I'm trying to remember Mr. Odua's father, Nosa, which was played by Charles Inojie, happened to tell his son he had threatened him that he was either going to win or he should better not come back home. He was going to end up in a ghetto. He was very mean to his son, and he had gone ahead to talk to Pompey to make him see reasons why he needed to cut Aburo's dream short and put him back in the ghetto. He didn't want Aburo to take over or become first or be the one to get the opportunity or privilege to go to the US while his son stays back. So that was it for him, and he felt the best way was to convince Pompey to make sure Aburo doesn't get to the US or get to win the competition. While at that, Aburo gets to eavesdrop on Odua and his father speaking a few minutes before the competition, and Aburo decided that he wasn't going to win last minute. Even though he had everything within him to beat Odua, he decided to let Odua take the position. Odua came first in the competition. I felt really bad, honestly, and Odua felt confused. He confronted Aburo. Why would you allow me win? I saw you slowing down. Why did you do that? If it was because of my father, forget that and all of that. But yeah, was that the end for Aburo? Well, I thought so too, that there was no more US and it was not going anywhere. Also, when Rofia had died, Auntie Kafi had begged Mr. Tuchel to please hold on to Aburo and help him out of the ghetto. That if he remained in the ghetto, he was going to die there and his life was not going to be meaningful. She had pleaded with him, and Mr. Tuchel had said he was going to do everything within him to make sure Aburo becomes somebody great. After the competition, Aburo decided that he wanted to go back to school based off the fact that Rofia was convinced when she was alive that Aburo was going to do well in school, and Mr. Tuchel and Dr. Edak had promised that they were going to support him through. Auntie Kathy was the happiest. She was very happy. While at that, they received the call that Aburo had been accepted into the best sprinting or running academy in the US, and he was going to the US. With so much excitement, everyone was happy. They all hugged each other. They were so happy. While at Mr. Tuchel's house, they were so happy, and that was how Aburo packed all of his luggages, and alongside Odua, they decided they were going to the US, excited kids. Oh, before that, Odua's father decided to explain why he had been so tough and mean to his child. He felt that if he was mean and tough to the child, his child was going to turn out better and greater than he did. Well, we see them packing their luggages into the car, and Mr. Tuchel handed over his auntie's property to Auntie Kathy to nurture her two kids and decided to go back to the US with Aburo and Odua and promised and looked forward to Dr. Edak joining him in the US soon. You should obviously expect a chemistry there. So what do I think about the movie? I don't know if I said it at the beginning, but if you want to go see this movie, please take your tissues because it's an emotional story. Honestly, I wasn't expecting Rafia to die because that was all Aburo had in this life, and that was his motivation for everything he did, whether good or bad. So, and that was the only one that he listened to. His sister was everything he had, and he listened to his sister at all times. It was really sad. And it was so sad again that Odua got to confess to Aburo that he didn't bully his sister. He actually liked Rofia, but while he was trying to communicate that to her, she decided to shun him and he was trying to get a grip of her hand and his nails scratched her hand. That was what happened, but he really liked that. It was really sad that Rofia wasn't there to see Aburo go to the US or wasn't even there to get to the US herself. Quite a sad story. Was very It felt different to see Rafia in an hijab. Darasimi, I don't think I've ever seen her play such a role before. Aburo his real name, I think it's Maleek, or some, I think it's Maleek, yes. On socials, I think Maleek Ikorodu Boys or something. The guy is good. This is the second time I think I'm seeing him in a movie. I've seen him in Gang of Lagos and the guy is good. He delivers his role. And can we give it up for Wumi Toriola? For the first time, she didn't play a violent role and she ate her role. She did fantastically well. That role, she interpreted it well. I saw Wumi Toriola in a different light and it was nice. I was like, wow, so she did a fantastic job with that role. Also, it was really nice to see Toni Tones again as a doctor this time around. I don't see Toni Tones often these days, but it was really, really nice to see her again. And to see Iwara he also interpreted his role very well, especially the time when he was crying in the rain and trying to convince Aburo on why he wasn't the time for him to give up and giving him reasons he needed to get up and get going. Irrespective of the fact that Rofia was no more, he still needed to live for himself, and the fact that Rofia will be happy and proud wherever she is, that he's making something meaningful out of himself. It's quite an emotional story. A 14-year-old or 13, we're not told how old he was, but obviously was in his early teens, who had been through so much, seen so much, and still he was strong. That guy was strong. Sometimes the movie also shows us that sometimes you might not have what every other person has. You might not have the privileges that everyone has, but there is one thing, there is that talent that would take you places, that talent that could open doors for you. The talent of running felt more like a benefit to him. More, how do I put it? More like, oh, it was just an advantage to him for his stealing skills. So as a thief, it was an added advantage to him that he could run fast. He didn't think he could use it for more honorable things until Mr. Tuchel came around. God bless Mr. Tuchel for discovering that there are more better things you could do with these running skills. So go check it out on Cover.